Hello YouTube and Mother. I wanted to make a video for you guys to show you some of the progress I've made on my power wall, power box, power cart, whatever you want to call it. I feel like I'm finally at a point where, well, it actually is working. So just to give you a recap of the project, I salvaged these cells from a Ford C-Max Energi. They are Panasonic cells, 26 amp hours each. I bought the battery, the complete hybrid battery, from a salvage yard and tore it apart, separated it all out, and here's what I'm left with. So I started with the idea of building a power cart based off this rigid toolbox platform. So I have some videos on that, on how I was planning the battery layout. I'm not sure if I'm going to publish those or not. I still think that might be a project I want to do in the future, but I just ran into a little, roadblock in trying to get everything laid out in there well, and decided that an easier way would just be to build a box, a square wooden box, just to get everything laid out nice and easy, and I guess get everything in one area. So the Ford C-Max Energi battery comes with 84 of these cells. I'm running a 14S system, 6P, so 58 volts. The inverter is a reliable inverter. I special ordered it to have a little higher operating range than the standard 48 volt because, the voltage range of this is going to be, up to 58 volts fully charged. I probably won't, charge it 100%, but maybe 90%, just to help with the longevity. I went down the route of creating like a single bus bar sort of for each pack. I bought some of that round copper tube, nailed it down or hammered it down, and then drilled some holes in it. But it just became like a real headache to try to get all these studs to line up. So instead what I did is I found some copper strip tape, I think it's called. Plumbers use it to nail copper tubing up to like floor joists in a home. So I just got strips of it and then cut it down, and these holes just happen to be, the right length to make the connection. So I just made a whole bunch of these and connected everything together. So again, I have a 14S system. If we look closer at the cells here, this would be, one 6P pack, and this is my first series right here, and then my second series, third series, the fourth series goes along across the back, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 all the way over. So it's working out pretty well. Over here is my positive side, and then over on this end is the negative. I have a nice gauge wire running from the negative right now into the BMS, and then from the battery negative to the charger, and this is also the power negative. I'm running over to the inverter. And then for the positive wire, this is a temporary wire, just for testing right now. This is the wire that came with the charger. I just have this hooked up right now. I want to increase the gauge of the wire and then also run a fuse on this. But other than that, this project is pretty much done. For charging, right now I'm just using this small 3 amp e-bike charger. It's going to take forever to charge this at 84 cells, 26 amp hours each. I think the total pack capacity, or the total battery capacity, is 7.6 kilowatt hours, and this is a 3 amp charger at 58 volts, so that's only 150 watts. So it's going to take a long time. These cells started around 3.5 volts each when I first got them, so they were, not fully discharged, but near discharged. so I have a lot of capacity that needs to go into them, and I don't know. I'm planning on upgrading the charger eventually, but I'm not really worried about that right now. Let's see. This BMS is really cool. So I got the recommendation for this BMS from Going Off Grid on YouTube. If you guys aren't following him, I suggest you do. He's, great at explaining things for most novice DIY Powerwall builders. I'm no expert, and I've learned most of what I know about this stuff from YouTube, and he's certainly been extremely helpful. But this is the BMS he uses for his Chevy Volt battery packs. It's Bluetooth capable, so there's an app that you can download which gives you access to the BMS, and you can set the charge over voltage, the charge under voltage. You can set the capacity of the battery, so it gives you an estimated state of charge for the entire pack. It's really cool. It shows you, the cell voltages of each individual cell. You can set what type of charging what type of balancing you want. So you can have it do like active balancing, where it's just always balancing the cells, dropping the power of the highest ones to level out with the lowest ones. Or you can set charge only balancing, so it'll only balance when it's charged. You can set the voltage when you want it to start charge balancing. So, if you want it to charge, and balance right from the get-go, you can. I would imagine that would take a little longer, but right now I have it set to start charge balancing at 4 volts for each pack. So I don't know, I'm going to definitely play around with that stuff, because this is the first charge cycle that I'm giving it right now, so I have no idea exactly how long it's going to take. And how it's going to respond, but the app is really, really cool. I really like this BMS. I'm really glad I went with it. I use other BMSs. I've made a custom battery pack for my e-bike, and now I just feel like, I can't read anything off that other than putting up a multimeter to it and getting the voltage, so I'm probably going to replace it. I'm probably going to end up rebuilding that battery anyways and getting something a little bit more bigger. It's only a 8 amp hour at 52 volts, so I've done some testing with this already. I've only run about 350 watts off that inverter. I don't know what the actual surge output is of the inverter. I plan on using this pack to power our camper. It's a travel trailer when we're boondocking, where we don't have energy. So the idea is I have a 1500 watt gasoline generator that I would like to use to charge this, and then be able to use this battery bank at night when generators are typically banned from being run in campsites. So that'll give me power 24 hours a day. I keep telling the wife that this can run the air conditioner in the camper, which I believe it certainly will be able to, but not for very long, right? I don't know what that air conditioner puts out, but I would imagine it's probably 1500 watts to maybe 2000 watts all by itself. And if this is a 7.6 kilowatt hour battery bank, that means it can run the air conditioner for maybe 3 hours. But that would be constant, where we might only need it to just cool the camper down for a few minutes, and then turn on the fan. So I think I did test the fan, and the fan draws like 350 watts. So so that's the idea behind this. I don't know, back to the BMS. The seller, I was checking out the board, and the seller has instructions that doesn't use the power negative on here, because I had some questions about that. That's a really small terminal on this board, and I'm like, well, that needs to be a high flow current, just like the power or the battery negative. So I contacted them about it, and they said I could hook up the power negative to the charge negative, so that's why I did that. You can see I've used XT90 connectors on this BMS instead of soldering the wire directly to the board. This is a pretty thick gauge wire. I don't know exactly how thick it is. I got it from it's from a winch kit that I bought from Harbor Freight, and I never use a winch, so I thought, well, I'll use that cable. But I removed the top and bottom covers on the BMS and soldered the XT90 connectors directly to the board. So the cool thing about the way this is set up right now is that I can unbolt this entire system. Like, nothing's like soldered in place where I would have to cut wires. I can unbolt this entire thing. So if I wanted to take this battery pack apart and reconfigure it, everything's on. I can just unbolt it and change it. You know, I'm using bolt on here. You know, these XT90 connectors, I can disconnect them. Obviously, you know, the inverter cables, those are just bolted right on there. So it really gives me a lot of flexibility with this, where if I change my mind and I want to do something different, like if I ever do want to go to the power cart idea, which I still might do, because I think that's going to give me a little bit more flexibility. The idea is, you know, run maybe a 14S 2P and the inverter in the bottom box, and then use these top ones, these top boxes, as like expansion. So just a 14S 1P in each one of those, and then if I need to, you know, increase the capacity, I can add as many more as I want. I still might pick up another Ford C-Max Energi hybrid battery to expand the size of my box, but I don't know. That's in the future. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I just wanted to share this with you, since, you know, this is where I get the majority of my information in, and you know, everyone's been really helpful to me. So thank you.